I'm here today to talk to you about the secrets of superhero science. So before I actually start to talk and get into the whole topic, I just want everyone to have a look at this.
United we stand. United we stand. United we fall. Divided we fall. Divided we fall.
You chose the wrong side.
That was a clip from the 2016 film Captain America Civil War, which came out in April of last year, as I just said. That film grossed more than $1 billion at the box office. That is an indication of how popular these films are. They are huge money makers, but not only are they popular among people going to see them, they can be very much used as an inspiration and an innovative means to communicate science in a very accessible manner. This is a picture of me from last year after I published my first book, which is called The Secrets of Superhero Science. And it shows a picture of me in a laboratory in Eindhoven. And if you're very eagle-eyed, you'll probably see clearly I'm obviously wearing a Spider-Man glove. I've got my Spider-Man mask. There's the spider fluid, and there's the spider in the image. And what this image basically shows is what I'm trying to do, is to combine the superhero world with the scientific world in which I work. I'm a research scientist based at TU Delft in the Netherlands, and my primary research is on biofuels and energy production. But the superhero research has now become a huge component of my work, and I'm really, really passionate about that. Now, for as long as I can remember, I've dreamed about having superpowers. I think I saw Superman, the first Superman film from 1978. I saw that film when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And at the time, I was playing with an A-Team van. And I put the A-Team van down and realized very quickly that I would like to be able to fly and not travel around with Hannibal Smith and B.A. Baracus. Now, unfortunately, my dreams haven't come to reality and I still cannot fly. But I must ask a question to everyone here in the audience. Hands up, how many people have seen Superman from 1978? That's great. That's excellent, because normally when I do talks, that's most of the audience, more or less. When I do some of these talks and I ask that question, most people say they've never seen it. But that really was the first superhero film. And the superhero films are hugely profitable, as I've just mentioned. You see on screen here the top 20 films of all time. There's only one film outside of this particular century, that is Titanic from 1997. But I've starred all of the superhero films. That's The Dark Knight Rises, Captain America Civil War, Iron Man 3, Avengers Age of Ultron, and the most profitable film of them all, which is Avengers from 2012. Now, these films are big business. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is owned by Disney, has grossed more than $13 billion at the box office, and their next film is going to be out next month. That's Thor Ragnarok, and some of you may have seen the trailers, and they're very, very good. I'm really looking forward to that particular film. And as I say, that film is coming out next month, and after that we have Justice League, which is going to be a film combining all of the characters from DC Comics, the prominent ones, such as Wonder Woman, who had her film earlier on this year, along with Batman and along with Superman. Now, in my opinion, superheroes offers a unique opportunity to communicate science to any audience in an accessible, fun, imaginative manner and stage. So, not only that, you can also foster a connection with your students, with your audience, by relating to their own personal experiences and talking about something that they know about. So I do lots of talks at schools, and invariably I'll ask the students the question before I start: how many people have seen a superhero film? The majority of people will say they have. Then I ask a follow-up question for those who may not have seen a film. Do they know some of the characters? And most people will say yes, they know at least one superhero. And these superheroes, they don't necessarily have to see the films to know them. They can see them on posters at bus stops. They'll see them on TV advertisements. They'll see them online and social media. So these characters are very much part of the fabric of modern society, thanks to the popularity of these films in Hollywood. Now, in terms of what I try and do, after I wrote the book, I did some media coverage. So the book was covered in the Irish Times, for example, also here locally in the Limerick Leader, and I did an official launch at a school in Tallaght, St. Aidan's in Tallaght, to promote and launch the book. I also give quite a lot of talks about this at various different venues. I have spoken from everything from a creche with 4-year-olds all the way up to corporate at GE and Philips. So I speak on this topic with various audiences. So give you an example, last year I was back here for Science Week in Ireland. I spoke at a number of schools, spoke at the University of Limerick here. I did, I think, maybe 40 talks in about 9 days. I'm back again this year for Science Week. I'll be speaking here on the 13th of November about superheroes in science. And I'll also be traveling the country speaking in Cavan, in Dublin, in Dungarvan, and also in Longford as well, of course, as in Limerick. I've also done many events in the Netherlands. This is me speaking during Science Week in the Netherlands. I've also spoken at Dutch Comic Con. It's quite unusual when you stand in a room, 200 people, half them are dressed in costume, half them are not dressed in costume, and you stand there and you've got every person's attention for 1 hour, and then afterwards you have people come up to you and they're dressed as Batman or Harley Quinn and they're asking you about the physics or the chemistry or the biology you've just presented to them. You've got them. Completely hooked. Absolutely, completely hooked. And what I've also done is that I've tried to combine this superhero stuff with my own research. So this is a paper that some people I work with in Delft have published, and I related to Iron Man. So I wrote an article for BBC Online Science Magazine where I related the research that we've done to how Iron Man flies in a suit. And they liked the link and they published the article, and it gives us extra coverage for our research, but also helps me to link with my infatuation with the superhero genre. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm just going to show you how you can use some of the things that I've put together, and I'm going to mention where you can mention more about that at the end, where you can get a hold of these. This image is not photoshopped. This is a real invisibility cloak called the Rochester Cloak, built by a PhD student and his supervisor in 2014 at the University of Rochester. So when I show this to people, many people go, it's fake. It's not real. That's not real. But when I show you this image with a hand, it goes to reinforce exactly what they've done. This is all published in a real scientific paper, which you can find online. This is some of the images, one of the images they show on the paper where they allow the parts of someone's finger to become invisible. And I decided, well, as like any good scientist, I'd like to test this out. So I read the paper, and I'm happy with that. I wanted to build it, so I built it. Now, you can use the paper for instructions, but you can also go to Wikipedia, because the instructions are on Wikipedia to build this. This entire cloak can be built with those instructions. So you just do a search on Wikipedia and you'll find it. So here it is. So how does it work? It's got 4 optical lenses. 1, 2, 3, 4. You place them in a particular configuration. You place an object in between 2 of those lenses. And the idea is that it will make that object in between those lenses vanish. So I tested it by putting a Lego bridge in between. And you notice that they're joined either side by this green block. My hope is that when I look through this lens, that I shouldn't see the green block and I should see the Ant-Man figure's head at the back. And that's exactly what you see in both of those images on the right. The green block vanishes and you can see the Ant-Man head. This is not magic. This is physics. This is real physics and real science. And okay, having an invisibility cloak like Harry Potter or having the powers of the Invisible Woman might be a little bit far away, but this is where we got to start, right? So this is a great start in terms of having and owning an invisibility cloak. I have it in my apartment. It's on my table in my apartment. So I can use it whenever I want. In terms of mapping it to resources, I just picked something out of the official Living Search syllabus. Of course, the natural link is to look at refraction, to look at lenses. And of course, in the STS component of the syllabus, you can look at the use of lenses. This is a very innovative and out-of-the-box use of lenses and the type of technologies that and physics you're trying to communicate to your students in the classroom. Spider-Man. I don't think there's many people here who wouldn't like to have some of these powers and abilities, such as maybe the spidey sense to be able to predict certain danger. But one of the big things about Spider-Man is that he produces spider silk, well, depending on which film you've seen. Now, spider silk is one of the toughest materials on the planet. It's tougher than Kevlar, and that's the material predominantly used in bulletproof materials. So that got a bunch of people thinking, how about we try and use spider silk to make bulletproof materials? Wouldn't that be really, really great? But the only issue is that you can't get enough of the stuff from spiders. It doesn't sound practical to set up a factory with 1 million spiders and pull spider silk out of those spiders until you get enough to make your bulletproof material. So scientists are innovative. They come up with a really great solution. This is the spider goat. So back in the last decade, early part of the decade, a company called Nexia Technologies, they collaborated with scientist Randy Lewis, and they came up with this spider goat. So what they did was they combined the DNA of a goat with the DNA of the golden orb weaver spider. So that when you milk the goat, It produces the spider silk protein in the milk that can be extracted from the milk and electrospun into your traditional strands of spider silk, and then off you go towards your bulletproof materials. By the way, it's completely safe and not a biohazard to drink the milk. It's perfectly safe. So this is a great business model. If this was a startup, you got two products. Spider goat milk at one door, and then you got your bulletproof spider silk for your bulletproof materials out the next. So someone has used this to make a bulletproof material. This is Jalila Saidi. She's from BioArt Laboratories, and I have the pleasure to work and collaborate with Jalila in a lot of outreach and communication of what she does. So what she has done is she's combined spider silk with human skin cells. So that's taken 2 layers of spider silk with 2 layers of human skin cells to make a material that is bulletproof. You can fire bullets at velocities of 170 meters per second at this particular skin, and it will not break. But once you go towards the higher velocities of typical rifles, yes, it goes through. But it's a great start. Here's an image of the skin. There's the bullet. Stopped by this material. And they did all this testing at the forensic laboratories and testing and firing range in the Netherlands. And she has some really great stories about this. She's been approached by parents online by email asking if she could make some of this spider silk bulletproof material for her kids, because the kids keep on falling off their skateboards, and they're sick of having to put plasters on the injuries, and they won't give them pads, so they want something that's lightweight, so they're asking for this bulletproof spider silk skin. And in terms of the disciplines, this is multidisciplinary. You can talk about genetic editing here. You can talk about modifications of the genome using, for example, maybe you've heard of CRISPR-Cas. This is a hugely innovative approach. This can motivate that. You can also motivate chemistry here, because you talk about different materials, comparing the integrity of this material to traditional materials that might be used in bulletproof options, such as steel alloys or Kevlar. And of course, you've got the physics option. And the thing I liked about this is that you could do a little puzzle, and you could talk about the velocity of the bullets hitting the skin, and then compare the kinetic energy towards the kinetic energy of maybe a particle accelerator, or towards a moving car, or towards Usain Bolt. So you've got a nice way to compare this type of approach in terms of bulletproof materials, which I don't just see this be used in military applications. Imagine if this could be adopted for a Formula 1 driver, so you can decrease the weight or mass that they have to wear in the car to wear a suit, which is only a matter of a few cells thick. And I also asked this question: who'd like to own a spider goat? Wouldn't it be great, right? Have a spider goat at home, charge people to come see it. So I wrote a second book as well. It's about Santa Claus. Now, in my opinion, Santa Claus is the greatest superhero that we can ever imagine, because he achieved something that is unfathomable on Christmas Eve. He goes around the world and visits many millions of children delivering presents. And I think we should look at Santa Claus as an inspiration for technology and innovative technology, because he is many decades ahead of where we are at the moment. So one of the questions I tried to address in the book is how do the reindeer fly? Now, the thing you have to look at the reindeer sleigh is that when the sleigh was conceived, he wasn't inspired by the Wright brothers, because the Wright brothers flew the first plane in 1903, which is why the sleigh doesn't have wings. So then, well, how does it fly? Well, my idea is that he has perfected maglev.
If you've ever played with magnets, you know that opposite poles attract and like poles repel each other. And this is the idea behind magnetic levitation. Powerful superconducting magnets in the track and the train lift it about 10 centimeters off the ground. Then another set of electromagnets push it along. Because it's riding on a cushion of air, there's little friction. This makes it a smooth ride and potentially very fast.
So what I think Santa Claus has perfected is the following. He has taken his sleigh and he has come up with some innovative magnetic technologies that allows him to levitate above the Earth's magnetic field. So the other magnet underneath is the bar magnet that's in the Earth. And through the control in the sleigh, he's able to maneuver it and travel at particular whatever speeds he wishes. In this case, that train they were referring to in that footage, that was a test that was done in Japan. It's the fastest maglev train that's ever been built and currently tested. It traveled at 602 kilometers per hour. And I believe that Santa Claus is definitely traveling faster than that with his maglev technology. So behold how Santa Claus flies, maglev. That's my opinion, and if you want to know more, you can check out the book. Now, I would dearly love to have an Iron Man suit, because it would definitely help me fly, because that's one of my dreams. But could the Iron Man suit be the ultimate invention in the superhero universe? I think it very well could be. But many people see it as a weapon. I do not see it as a weapon. I see it as possibly a key cornerstone towards encouraging people to develop innovative technologies for healthcare. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Just have a look at this.
It's just a first pass.
Yeah.
Give me some feedback. Anything you think of, shock absorption, lateral movement. Cup holder?
So that's Tony Stark with James Rhodes, played by Don Cheadle. He's another character in the films. His name is War Machine, who also wears an exoskeleton suit. Now, he suffers an injury in Captain America Civil War, and in this particular scene, Tony Stark is a very innovative developer, and he has created an exoskeleton suit to help his friend to walk again. Now, this particular suit that he has here is very sleek, and you might think we're many decades maybe away from this. But I had the privilege to work with some great people and collaborate with some great people, and one of them is a student team in Delft. They're called Project March, and what they've done is extraordinary. They have built an exoskeleton suit. This allows somebody who has had a spinal injury to walk again. They are innovators. They are Tony Starks. These 30 students who work on this project have managed to build this, and the idea is that this suit will compete in a competition in Dusseldorf in October against a commercial suit that's used to give people back their mobility. And this, why I'm highlighting this, these are students. The head of the project is 23 years old. The PR person's 22. There's a 20-year-old involved in the programming. There's a 19-year-old involved in the electronics. This is now not far away from the stage where some of your students could be, and seeing what they can do can be proven inspiration to those students. In terms of Iron Man suit, I want to point out this as well.
Wanda, I think you hurt Vision's feelings.
You locked me in my room.
Okay, first, that's an exaggeration. Second, I did it to protect you. Well, first time for everything.
Made you look.
Multiple contusions detected.
Yeah, I detected that too.
The Iron Man suit is the ultimate biosensor, giving instant feedback to the wearer on any type of injury that they may have, or even biological feedback. So Tony Stark relies on this quite heavily. And what he'll be detecting is things at this particular scale. This image I'm showing you is actually an SEM image, and you heard about SEM earlier on from Andy. They are my red blood cells. They are my white blood cells. And see these strands here? That's spider silk. So I have some friends who took a blood sample from me, put it on spider silk, put it under an SEM, took the image, took it out, colored it as Spider-Man. And I have this in my apartment. It's 1.5 by 1 meter high in my living room. So maybe some people might think I'm a little bit unusual to have such art in my living room. You can also get your fingerprints done if you wish. Now, there is a team in Eindhoven called Census, exactly like Project March. These are student teams, and they're teams that compete in a competition called Census from all around the world, from universities all around the world, to build biosensors, to allow patients to take diagnostics to their home, to allow them to be in charge of their own healthcare. So what they did in the competition last year is this is the team from Eindhoven. They built a sensor that can monitor creatinine. Now, creatinine is a biomarker that, if it's not filtered out of your blood by your kidneys, can be detrimental. Now, the kidney itself is the most transplanted organ on the planet. And what we'd like to do is, with such technology, is to give people who have kidney issues the opportunity to monitor their own health at home. How does it work? Well, you simply just take a small blood sample, you put it into this little assay here, you insert it into a 3D printed piece of technology, you plug your phone in, it undergoes a chemical reaction, the color changes and you get a little dot, and you take a picture with your phone, and then depending on what color it is, it'll tell you how much creatinine you actually have in your blood. This is extraordinary, innovative technology. And as I say, the Iron Man suit is filled with biosensors just like this. Now, when I do one of these talks, after I've done all this, and I have a general audience, doesn't matter if there's students in schools or at a science festival, I like to ask this question. Hands up here, if I gave everybody here superpowers right now, how many people would use it for evil? None. So we got a very morally correct room here. Most of the students, of course, many classrooms, half of them will say, I would use them for evil. And the normal thing is for fun, or to be able to have an advantage over people. So I've done a bunch of stuff in regards to this. I've done a TEDx talk last year on the secret superhero science. This is up on YouTube. I organized and held the very first conference on superhero science at TU Delft. It was called The Secret to Superhero Science. I brought together 6 researchers to talk about their work and how it could lead to the emergence of superpowers in the real world. And the last speaker was the most important person, the ethics person, who's going to say, well, do we need superpowers? Do we really have to have them? How should we introduce them? And how do we manage them? I have the great privilege through my company, which is BW Science, which I started in the Netherlands, to collaborate with superheroes. I collaborate with universities, I collaborate with student organizations, I collaborate with small businesses involved in bioart, I collaborate with innovative people and people who are working at the pinnacle of creation and innovation. It's an absolute honor to be able to share the stage with some of these people. I've also set up a brand new open access scientific journal. The aim of this journal is very simple. I want researchers from around the world to write about their research in an accessible manner so that they link their research to superpowers, to superheroes, to supervillains. This journal will be entirely open access. It means that it's free for a researcher to publish in, and it's also free for you, the reader, to read. And I want to get this scientific research into the hands of the next generation of scientists to encourage people to consider not just physics, but also the scientific subject in general, and engineering, technology, and ethics. So it'll be, the first papers I hope will be going online in the next couple of months, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing them as well myself. I've also created some learning resources, and I have some of them with me today. Where you registered at the registration desk, I'll be there after all of this with some of those resources. If you want to come drop by, I can give you some of those. And I also have the books with me, so I'll be signing books at the registration desk if you're also dropping by as well, so we can have a chat, of course, about this whole topic of superheroes and science. This has been The Secret to Superhero Science. I've been Barry Fitzgerald. Thank you very much for your attention.